Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from Itobu News in Honolulu. And with me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow on this Sunday. He's joining us from College Station, Texas. Today, a little bit of a cloudy day, but it's not raining. It's a nice warm beach day, except if you really want to get sunburned, maybe it's the wrong day for Hawaii today. So how's everything in College Station?
Well, today's a beautiful day in Texas, at least in my part of Texas. It's blue skies. There's a little bit of a wind, but it's around 78, 80 degrees, which in Celsius is about 24, 25 degrees. And really, people are enjoying the nice weather, low humidity. And so today, I think we could say that we have Hawaiian weather. It's kind of just perfect. And I think people are really enjoying that type of weather. And that's good because, Sunday's a day when a lot of people have a day off. They're able to take advantage of some of the sporting activities. We're starting to see outdoor activities really developing, and people in much of the world are taking their masks off. And that's also really great because it's kind of a sign back to normality. And I think after 2.5 years, we need that.
Yeah, and here in Hawaii, I can tell you as of yesterday, masks are not required. You can, of course, wear a mask. And I was surprised. It really, nothing much has changed. Almost everyone here in the building I live, everyone you run into Ala Moana Shopping Center who lives here is still wearing masks. So it really hasn't changed. Even my walk at Starbucks in the morning, everyone is wearing masks. We can detect tourists really don't like the masks. So when we see tourists, they usually, for the most part, I haven't seen a lot of tourists wearing masks, but among us locals here in Hawaii, it looks like masks wearing almost become a new normal. And so far it hasn't changed. Maybe time will teach us different, but then of course we want to stay safe, better safe than sorry. And there are many parts of the world where masks and also vaccination requirements are still there. Like one of the countries is Panama. In Panama, the mask is now voluntarily, but if you travel to Panama, you still have to have your test. And yesterday was a major tourism event that finished, a 2 days event where also our friend, the Skoll International President Juergen talked to the Minister of Tourism, who told us all his big plans in relaunching tourism in Panama. And if you really think about it, with an airline, a Star Alliance carrier, Copa, headquartered in Panama, it's very well connected. You can get from a lot of North American gateways to a lot of South American or Caribbean gateways, and even to Europe with nonstop flights. So there's a good potential for tourism in Panama.
Panama has a lot of nice things, including the fact that besides Copa, which is probably the best of the Star Alliance airlines and does a really good job, but Panama City's airport is spectacular. If you're traveling through Panama City, you have this, it's so easy to get from one part of the airport to another, and there's no paperwork. You only go through paperwork when you actually go downstairs to enter the country of Panama. But as long as you are in the Panama airport, you're in sanitized area, which is great. Panama is also, of course, the home of the Panama Canal, which is a world-class tourism attraction. And Panama is great for, they are really working hard on improving their tourism security. So all those things lead Panama to be a really interesting country. Truly, it's a connection. It's the hub of the Americas, both North and South America. So I think that's great. I think most people, really the big objection to masks was not the wearing of a mask. It was being told they had to wear a mask. And I think now you're seeing people who want to wear a mask, and those who don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. And everybody seems to be doing quite well with that, live and let live.
Well, we just need to see, time will tell. I mean, if you look at Europe, I saw the numbers for Germany, the COVID numbers, and they're at a record high. And so are the same numbers in most European countries. And restrictions are literally no longer there. So it is a little bit of a risk.
Yeah.
Maybe I hope it's not too much of a risk. I think time will tell. And of course, when it
But I don't think
comes,
I don't think this variant is a very deadly variant. I think it just kind of gives you a cold.
well,
Um,
in Germany, 129 people died yesterday.
okay.
In the United States, several hundred people, that is more than a wide body plane, are dying every single day. So it's not finished. But I think we became immune. We accept the risk. And for many people, it's a low risk. I agree. But it is still a deadly virus. So we
Yes,
should be
of course.
aware of it.
But of course, 129 people is probably less than the number of people die in car accidents, who die of diabetes each day, who die of many other diseases. So, you know, I think we should be well protected. I just think that we can't become hysterical, and the tourism industry especially cannot afford to become hysterical. I think we have to see this within proportions. Certainly, one of the problems is when people die, we don't quite know if it's necessarily from the new COVID variant or just a form of the flu. So that's another big issue that we
No, I'm talking about
don't
the
know.
numbers. Actually, Peter, the numbers in the United States are low, low in a sense, and this is strictly COVID-related death. Yesterday, we had 221 compared to the almost 2,000. Yes, it is low. So I guess it's a positive sign, and we'll see where it goes. But one thing I have to disagree with you strongly
Okay,
is
good.
Copa being the best Star Alliance carrier. I can tell you have not flown Thai International or Singapore Airlines yet.
No, you're probably right. I'm going to take that back. I withdraw my thing. Copa is the best of the Star Alliance carriers in the New World.
All right. Okay. Now, when it comes to sports and other events, the Formula One is going on in Jeddah. It started yesterday, maybe a little bit with a scare because they had a major explosion at one of their oil.
There were 9 terrorist attacks yesterday in Saudi Arabia.
So it is, yeah, it is definitely kind of with a question mark, but people are attending in good numbers, and the event is going on, and local tourism authorities say it's not related to tourism. It probably isn't, but it's still a scary thought that you're in an area where
everything that
things
takes
explode
place
in the neighborhood.
and everything that takes place is related to terrorism. I mean, because if you see it and you can see the explosion of the oil refinery, that's going to scare people. On the other hand, I have to give a lot of credit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The fact is they didn't panic. They continued on, which is the way to do it. And they refused to give a victory to the Houthi rebels. So all those are really good. At the same time, the Middle East is really blossoming. Of course, as you know, right now is going on in Israel, the major summit between Morocco, Egypt, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and the United States. And that's taking place really in a very symbolic place for Israel, which is Sde Boker, which is the home of the desert home of Israel's first prime minister, David Ben Gurion. It's kind of like Mount Vernon is to the United States. And the fact that this all is taking place is really valuable. And all the ministers, including the Israeli minister, sent condolences to the King of Saudi Arabia, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So you can see how new coalitions are forming, and these may form as major tourism alliances, so that people will be able to go to those 5 countries on, I don't know if they want to do in one tour, but maybe 2 or 3 tours, or at least combined. We're seeing all new sorts of tourism opportunities that are taking place that are blossoming in the Middle East. And that's really
not only, Peter, in the Middle East, we had the relaunch of the African Tourism Board, and you and I were very much involved in finding and being, we're founders, actually co-founders of this board. It wasn't really founded in Africa. It was founded here in the United States by us. We're very proud of it. And on Friday, there was a relaunch in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And it was quite spectacular from what I see, with local dancers and people coming together from various parts of Africa. We had the ministers from Botswana, Mozambique, we had South Africa there, we had Eswatini, of course, as a host. And so it looks like we had Minister Najib Balala from Kenya sending his congratulations. The Minister Pratt, who was also there from the very first beginning when we had our meeting in London, she is the Minister for Sierra Leone. She wasn't there, but she sent her greetings. And we're, of course, very proud of having put this in place. And now we're looking forward to the real work because now with COVID a little bit behind us, our goal was always to help market African destinations in a cost-effective way. And that's why the African Tourism Marketing Corporation, what you find online at africantourismmarketing.com, is reactivated at the same time with packages specifically for the African destinations and businesses to come together and market their product specifically on the very lucrative North American tourism field.
And what's really great is that now they can have in Africa, their African Tourism Board, but of course the marketing agency you don't market to yourself, you market to other people. And so the nice thing is we'll have the African Travel Marketing Corporation, Tourism Marketing Corporation.
Don't mess it up now, Peter. It's africantourismmarketing.com.
I have to learn it. Which will be in the United States. So that way it'll allow Africa, the ATM, so I won't mess it up that way, which is not taking money out of a bank, but in this case, it'll allow people to market so they can put money into their own bank account. And that's really, I think, we will be very important in allowing Africa to become a major player around the world. So I think there'll be two sides. The African Tourism Board, which will of course be looking at internal issues in Africa. And then we here on the marketing side that will be looking at helping to make Africa open to the rest of the world. So really kudos to us. I think that's really, we've hit the right formula here.
Yeah, and I remember the times, of course, your expertise is in safety, security, when we met Lily, who is still the head of the Uganda Tourism Board, and you helped her at the time with 2 safety security issues. I'm not going to lay it out now, but it was a serious issue for Uganda, and you helped them out and actually assisted the minister and also Lily to get the right message to the public. And this all worked out very well. And I remember when she told you at the launch of the African Tourism Board, Peter, I'm not going to do anything anymore without your permission. So
it was, I think, our pleasure. Our goal was to help Africa get itself on its feet, which I think we accomplished. And now Africa has to stand on its own. They've grown up. And then it'll be our job here in the United States to do a better job of marketing. And people who are interested probably want to go to our website. You might want to give the
It's africantourismmarketing.com.
So africantourismmarketing.com. Think of it as ATM, but not where you get money out of your bank account, but rather how to add it the other way around, africantourismmarketing.com. And I think this is part of this whole new rebirth. I've noticed that on airplanes now, service has gone up a little bit. Now, it's not yet to pre-COVID, but we're getting closer. So again, that's, each day, maybe we're getting a little bit back to where we should be. And I'm hoping that will take place. I see that airlines are starting to order new planes again, that there's some really interesting concepts on some of the companies have come up with really unique marketing strategies for their passengers. And that's part of the experience. Travel is part of the tourism experience. So I think if we're able to do that, we're really doing a good job. Plus, I think many places around the world are starting to really take things more seriously. I see in Mexico, which is getting ready for the whole spring break experience, that they are really beginning to launch all sorts of new training projects for their police and help to be able to not just be law enforcement, but rather law enforcement hospitality, what we call TOPS, tourism-oriented policing and protection services. So all these types of situations really can help us relaunch tourism again. And maybe by 2022, 2023, the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, we can be able to say, COVID is behind us. Let's certainly hope so. Now, if we can solve the war in Ukraine, we'll be in great shape.
Yes, Peter, and you can see this also internally. Of course, what we need to mention is tourism.news. And what is tourism.news? Actually, if you watch us now, you can actually watch us on tourism.news right now. This is our first broadcast on tourism.news. And what it is, it's basically eTober News, but with a different target audience. Our target audience for tourism.news are the travelers, are not the trade. So these are the visitors to destinations, and the news you see in there is relevant to these visitors.
Right.
So we hope to be able to cooperate with a lot of
And
destinations, a lot of tourism businesses, and the destination can even have its own subportal. So if Hawaii wants to have a subportal on tourism.news, we're going to call it hawaii.tourism.news. And so every country right now, if you go to tourism.news website and you click on the countries, we really have portals arranged for a lot of different destinations. So we're
one of the
excited
things,
about this.
yes,
And hopefully that would also indicate, the need for really tourism is coming back.
yes. I think one of the nice things we should be doing in the future is taking 3 or 4 minutes of every broadcast to give some suggestions or ideas for people who are traveling. For example, before you go, check with not only if you're an American, the State Department website, or if you're British, the website for the British Foreign Office about what's going on in that country, but call the local airline. Ask them if they can give you some advice. And then one of the things you might want to do is there are some really good reviews on YouTube about the different airlines. So before you purchase a ticket, you might want to look and see what are some of these reviews? What are other people saying? And are they giving good reviews or bad reviews? One of the things you really need to know in tourism is you don't always connect the cost of the ticket to the quality of the service. Sometimes a lower cost ticket may provide better service or vice versa. So one of our tips, I think, to travelers ought to be traveler, buyer, beware. Look through and do your research before you purchase a ticket.
And now in today's time, there are so many online possibilities to really look through how an airline is rated, how a hotel is rated.
Right.
And you can do this also from several sources. Of course, you don't just want to go to TripAdvisor, for example, alone, but look at Expedia and look at other things as well. And you find independent ratings. Sometimes it might be worth to spend $5 to get something more independent, because sometimes you have to read in between lines. So obviously, when you go to a Marriott website and see a rating on a Marriott hotel, you can expect it's a positive rating.
Yes, it's not going to be a negative rating. Marriott is not going to publish that, nor is any other hotel company. On the other hand, if you look at 3 or 4 and you do a little bit of research, you can have a much better travel experience. So the time to do this is don't complain after, do your research prior, and understand that people are hungry for your dollar or your pound or your euro, whatever it happens to be, and make them work to get your business. They will. But if the tourist demands and says, if you don't provide the customer service I expect, there are alternatives, and I'm going to find another alternative. And you know what? The industry is going to react to that and reflect. So one of the things I do is I write after a good or bad flight to the airline, and I give them not their website, but I actually send them a letter and say, this is what I think you did well, and this is what I think you didn't do well. And I usually get a response.
Yeah, no, customer service is important, and you can almost make any phone calls to any company in the world, and chances are 5 minutes later you get someone calling you, how was the phone call? So that is big business.
But parting in terms of service, one of the things I'm hoping people will do is send in emails to us telling us areas of advice they'd like us to give them and what areas would be of interest to them, so that we can make this, if not interactive, at least hear what the public is saying and then react to their needs.
And a lot of our news tips at eTober News come exactly from situations like this. So many times we've been able to help in the background without ever publishing situations. But on the other hand, sometimes when you publish something positive or negative, it will definitely have an impact somewhere.
Well, one of the things that is going on, and maybe we will need to talk a little bit about this or switch, is a whole program that we're doing called Screen for Ukraine. And unfortunately, I'd like to be able to tell you that the war is over and everything is great, but that's not true. So
yeah, we're gonna have some extra sessions, I think, on Scream coming up. But for those that are not familiar with Scream, you can go to the website at scream.travel. And it's all about the help and assistance or communication the world can assist Ukraine with, specifically in their struggle. And we're not pointing fingers at anyone, no one here. And I have to say, I got a number of very, very angry and nasty emails this morning from Russia, from our readers in Russia, and we value our readers in Russia in the travel and tourism industry. That has nothing to do with our readers. This war is not a personal thing. This is something what is between governments. And unfortunately, many times in this case, the travel and tourism industry is a victim in between. And but I wanted to assure all our friends in Russia, we're not your enemies and we're not against you personally, but we're helping Ukraine and the Ukraine travel industry to survive through this terrible situation they're going through. And yes, and the situation is because of Russia, but it's not because of our readers in Russia and those that are now actually also struggling because of the sanctions.
I think the really important thing is that we are not a political organization. What we're here to do is to stop suffering. And we don't want a Russian mother cries just as much for her dead son as a Ukrainian mother. And we don't want anybody to suffer. We don't want anybody to die. What we really would like, I think our position is very strong. We'd like to see peace. And that's not only for Ukraine and Russia, but that's in any other place in the world. We don't want acts of terrorism. We don't want people trying to kill each other for whatever bizarre reason it is. And terrorism it shouldn't take place in Europe or the Middle East or Africa or Asia or Latin America. And there's, unfortunately, in the human soul, there's a sense of violence. And one of the things that we need to do is really create peace and showing the beauty of the human soul and not the ugly part of the human soul.
And that's why I think the travel and tourism industry is a custodian of peace. And that's what we live by. The same as the Skalway, this organization we have been supporting. It's doing business among friends. And that's hopefully where it stands and where we can get to. And Peter, it was good seeing you again on this Sunday, and hopefully we can catch up tomorrow or the day after.
Good. And
for those that wanted to,
this is good. This is the beginning of a new week, and hopefully, every time you have a new week, you have new hope. So let's hope that by the end of this week, when we get to Saturday, we'll be able to say, it really was a Saturday filled with peace and beauty. So that would be the nicest thing that we could hope for.
Yeah, and for those that wanted to see this this show and many of our other breaking news shows, again, you can go to our YouTube channel or simply click on the links you see on eTober News and our other publications, and you can watch everything. Also, you might want to watch our special report from Panama. We talked about it earlier, and also our special report from Ukraine about Scream, and then also the African Tourism Board Lounge in Eswatini. All of this is on our YouTube channel, and hopefully we see you again. I can say aloha from this end, Peter, and
howdy from this end. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.